Hey there, I'm Susan Clifton. I'm a South Florida artist and I do a lot of jelly prints and collage work. I also do large paintings and I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to do black and white jelly prints. I've been wanting to do something more neutral for a while now, just to have a stash in my collage drawer, because a lot of times I'm in the middle of doing a collage and I suddenly need something with a lot of black in it and I have to make it real quick. So I've been wanting to do this, and I did a little session of just titanium white and black and Titan buff and black. So let's get to it. Okay, so today I'm going to be using my smaller, I think it's a 6x6 jelly plate. I love this little size. I love a square anyway for composition and all of that. And I'm starting with this is a transparent white from some inexpensive craft paint. And I'm not so sure that I like it that much. Sometimes, it depends on what I'm doing, but in this particular case, I ended up switching. So I'm just gonna pick up that white. And it picked up some other stray things that were on the plate. So I kind of like that, more distressed look. And now I'm going to use this stencil that I purchased. And I'm just going to push the black paint through and see what kind of effect I'm going to get. It's obviously going to be thicker in some parts than others, and that's fine. I want some sort of random design to happen. I'm not looking for perfection here. I'm actually looking for that randomness. So you see what I'm getting, like where I first pushed the paint through, it's a little darker, it's a little more random. I like that. So now I'm going over that paint that I originally picked up from the plate. I probably should have waited for it to dry. That paint is a little bit wetter, I guess. I'm used to working with golden fluid paints, and they dry very fast. And that transparent white paint, not so much. Anyway, I'm not going to clean the plate. I'm just going to keep going. And this is using Blick black paint. And that seems to work well on the jelly plate. So I'm using the same stencil, and this time I'm going to use my brayer to pick up the paint that's in the stencil areas. And it's going to leave me with a ghost print. I could have picked that up with paper, but sometimes I find that the brayer gives me a cleaner, just a cleaner look. Maybe sometimes when I'm picking up with a piece of paper, maybe I'm smudging the stencil, and maybe that's why it's not so clear. I'm not really sure. I'll have to pay more attention the next time I do it. I'm using Titan white this time. I know I said I was going to do black and white, but it's a nice cream color, and I didn't like that transparent white, so I thought I'd give this a try. Hey, if you like these type of videos, give me a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. When you're doing jelly prints, you just never know what your results are going to be, and if you don't keep experimenting and trying different techniques, you don't know what it is that you're going to like in the future. So you have to have these play sessions every once in a while, and in this case, I really wanted to have some black and white papers in my collage drawer, my collage paper drawer, and I'm only going to be using pieces of these things, but I want to have as many variations of black and white as I can possibly have, so that I can have something to work with in the future. Now I'm just going to try to pick up what was left on the plate. So this is my second print And I'm going to do that a couple of times in this video. This time I'm using rice paper because since that leftover paint was probably very, very dry, I think the rice paper, excuse me, the rice paper picks it up a little bit better. Some papers really clean off the plate better than others. But the other paper I was using was copy paper. So I'm going to leave that little grunge on the edge, like why not? Sometimes that extra little grunge makes the print even better, especially when you're making collage paper. So if you were making a full composition on the jelly plate, different story. Anyway, these are some of my handmade stencils that I made on the Cricut. I'm not sure if they're part of the giveaway, but I have a giveaway where you can download the designs to cut on your own Cricut. I'll put the link in the description below. So this time I'm pulling up from the negative spaces because I think sometimes I want just really a plain black and white, and this is nice. I really like this for a collage. And now I have my ghost print. So I let that dry a little bit before I attempted this. So this is a few minutes later, and I'm still using the Titan Buff creamy white. So when you see I have this like more opaque, smaller sheet of paper, that is copy paper. The larger, more transparent sheet is the rice paper, and I'll also link that below. It's one of my favorite stencils. So I still have some stuff left on the plate. So again, I'm going to pull a second one. It'll give me a different result and possibly maybe a little more subtle, and could be very interesting for a future collage. These kinds of sessions are good to really give your collage paper stash a nice variety. And I have way too much color in my stash right now and not enough neutral. So that's what I'm attempting today. So I'm really pushing with the heel of my hand because that was residual black paint, and I want to make sure I pick it all up. So that was a pretty good second print. But here's them side by side. It's a little less ghost, but pretty good for a second print. So this is another stencil that I purchased that I really like, all these circles. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm pulling up from within inside the stencil. It's going to leave me with a ghost print. But it's also going to give me a really nice black and white initial print that I could also possibly use in a collage. And this one came out really good. Sometimes you have to really get in there with your fingers to make sure you get all of the paint out. So now I'm switching to titanium white. And I was just testing for dryness, and because it was a very thin coat, it dried very quickly. So sometimes the secret is a nice thin coat. It's so easy sometimes to squeeze out too much paint. I hate when that happens. It's such a waste. But you really have to make sure, you have to end up cleaning a lot of it off. And sometimes when my bottles get a little bit clogged up and I squeeze too hard, I get a whole big glob out of it. That usually happens with the fluid mediums. I mean the fluid paints. Very happy with that. So now I'm switching to another stencil that'll give me a lot of detail, I think. I'm trying to have a really good variety of designs so that, you know, I have lots to choose from. And this is kind of an interesting one. It looks like a storm. And because the openings are a little bit smaller, it's really hard to get that paint out. So I didn't get it on the first try, so I'm going to just keep trying. Again, titanium white. And you really do have to wait for that paint to dry. So if you're using a different kind of paint and it's taking a little longer to dry, just wait those few extra minutes before you lay your white on top of that, because you're just going to smear it all over the place. And I might have done that on this one. I'm not really sure if I waited long enough. See, it is a little smeared, but I still like it. And again, we have more left on the plate. Okay, so now I'm starting with Titan Buff. And I'm picking up that other sheet that I had, and I'm going just randomly over it to pick up this as well, see what kind of effect I get. Interesting. And I'm making sure I'm getting all the paint from all of those little nooks and crannies. Interesting. It's almost like a camouflage. So now I'm picking it up with another sheet that had a background. I'm really pushing with the heel of my hand to make sure I'm picking up all the paint. It's kind of interesting. So it's like a positive and negative of the same stencil. And I like my little cleanup sheet. This stencil was also from that same pack. I think it had like 25 stencils in it or something. It was really a large pack, and some of them are very nice. So I'll also link that below. I really like that they have a lot of small designs in them, and they're a perfect size for this 6x6 plate, which is why I'm using this plate today. Again, I'm making sure I'm getting all of the paint from those nooks and crannies. I waited a bit for that to dry, and now I'm putting some titanium white. So I'm showing this to you in real time so you get just how long I'm waiting to pull the print. Because sometimes I think you might pull too soon and not get the same results. You'll end up leaving a lot of paint on the plate. So this still has a little bit on the plate. And I'm going to try to pick it up with some Titan Buff. And again, this is going to give me a subtle version of the same thing that we just printed. And sometimes the subtle version we like more for collage paper. There's parts of that I like and parts I don't like, but look at the difference. So I put a little bit too much paint. And these are, again, some of my stencils. Well-used stencils, as you can see. And these openings, these little cutouts are really small, so I have to really work it. I probably should have used rice paper for this part. I would have been able to really get in there a little bit better. I probably could have used tissue paper too. So I let it dry a little bit, and now I'm going over with some white. It's probably too much paint. So even the titanium white is a little creamier than the actual white of the paper, as you will see, or maybe you've already noticed. And I'm going to definitely pick up this second print, and it will definitely be more subtle than the other one. The other one was a little too dark, because it was the openings were very tiny. The ghost print was a lot of black, so maybe now we'll get something a little nicer. In the second print, I always have to rub a little bit more. And actually, this one came out not so good. Not so good at all. It's like really dirty looking. So not every print comes out perfect. It's like, you know, you just have to, it's just paper and paint. It's nothing to cry about. But you keep going and you just make another one or another one. I love these kind of sessions. They're just, I never know what the result is really going to be. I try to plan, but sometimes, you know, I slip a little bit with my hand and I get a little blurrier. This time I'm going to use masks instead of stencils. And I think, you know, this first pull where I'm just going to get the black and white, I'm probably going to really like this because of the graphic nature of it. And the ghost print on the masks is always fabulous. I'm getting down to the end of my bottle, so I always have to give it a really good shake, and then sometimes too much paint comes out. So again, I'm using the heel of my hand to really push. I'm always happy with the masks. Okay, so now I'm starting with some white. And as you can see, I'm really having trouble getting it out of the bottle. And so that's my second sheet from the little bit of paint that was left over. It's a nice subtle version of the first one. You never know. I think that could be good. So here are all my papers, side by side, first and second print. And of course, this is the first pull. That was the slightly blurred one that I didn't like. Actually, I don't like either one of these. But I could probably use that first pull. I like the black and whiteness of it. And these are my other two first and second pulls and my cleanup sheet. Love this cleanup sheet. And that's the positive and negative. And look at that cleanup sheet. It's just fantastic. And that's the first pull, and I think I just did one of those. Sometimes it just doesn't leave enough paint on the plate to do a second one. This one got 2 really good prints, plus that one is great too. And this was my very first set, and I'm very happy with the first one. Okay, so that's it for today. So I don't know about you, but every once in a while I want to add a little contrast to my collage work, and that's why I did these, so that in my collage drawer I have some textures, some shapes, a lot of black. I really like, I'm drawn more to the extreme black and white, so when I just pulled some black off the plate, some of those are probably going to get used a lot in my collage. The other ones, we're going to see. We're going to see if it works for me. But this was an experiment that I haven't done before. I usually end up, if I need some black and white in a collage, I usually end up scribbling on a piece of white paper with a marker or a paint pen, or I take a brush and I go over some tissue paper. So that's another option. Maybe we'll do that one of these days. We'll just make collage paper with, you know, paint pens and brushes on tissue paper. That'll come soon, I promise. So don't forget, create, inspire, and share. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.